Sentenced to 33 years in prison, OJ Simpson is up for parole next year. Except there are no books, TV series, or five-part documentaries on Simpson's 2008 conviction for taking part in an armed Las Vegas hotel room heist to get back some of his personal sports memorabilia. No, it is still Simpson's 1995 murder trial that captivates America. More than 2 decades after his acquittal, OJ and the spectacles surrounding that trial still grab our attention like a low-speed white Bronco chase. Part 2 of ESPN's 30 for 30 series aired tonight. Hannah Storm was face-to-face with Carl Douglas of the defense team.
You were working in the law offices of Johnny Cochran, and you had tried some really high-profile cases, right? Everything from Michael Jackson, Tupac Shakur, Queen Latifah, Jamie Foxx. I mean, how did OJ compare in the spectrum of celebrity trials?
OJ was the most famous celebrity ever charged with murder. So when he was first arrested, everyone in the office thought that we might get the call. Our firm was singularly prepared to handle a case of this dimension, of this seriousness, and given the issues that were then ripe in Los Angeles, no one could possibly understand the O.J. Simpson verdict in a vacuum without appreciating the larger context in which that trial was held in Los Angeles in the mid-90s during a time of great strife and unrest.
You took the jury to OJ's residence. In his home, he had pictures of largely white friends. You and your team, before the jury got there, switched those pictures out.
Augmented, I like to say augmented, certainly.
Augmented, with pictures of black friends.
And his family.
And family.
For sure.
So a different sort of image visually hit the jurors than what was there originally?
Absolutely. We are trying to create an environment that we hope will be successful. For example, we also had fires in all of OJ's fireplaces.
Nice and cozy.
We brought cut flowers so that there'd be a nice scene. The prosecution objected to the fireplace, so we had to turn those off. The prosecution may have objected to some of the pictures, and they may have been changed. But certainly, the images that we put for that day were consistent with the themes that we were trying to present to the jury.
When Mark Fuhrman was on the stand and he said that he had never used the N-word, and then the tapes were brought into evidence where he used that word repeatedly in his conversations with a screenwriter, how critical was that in the end to the verdict?
It wound up being essential because as a result of the discovery of those tapes, as a result of discovering that the main detective had lied blatantly, he had to come back to the witness stand and take the Fifth Amendment. I've been doing this 36 years. Never in a murder case had I ever heard of a detective taking the Fifth Amendment about his conduct in that case. That was cataclysmic. That was death-defying, if you will. That was one of a kind. That alone would raise reasonable doubt in a fair-minded jury and cause them to challenge the efficacy of all the evidence, even in a 9-month trial, I say.
How critical was the visual of O.J. Simpson struggling to pull on the gloves?
Oh, Hannah, that was the most dramatic day of my life ever in trial. The murder glove was a visual that would be indelibly etched into the memories of each of these jurors. The murder glove didn't fit, and that was something that resonated on a basic human level, and that allowed you to look beyond the fancy numbers of the DNA, to look beyond the recriminations of the domestic violence evidence. That was here and now, and real for all the jurors to take in and to absorb.
Would you, as the defense, have done that, or did the prosecution beat you to that? Because Lance Ito the judge had floated the idea, I think we should do this.
I remember that the defense had wanted an opportunity privately to be alone with a guard and OJ and the gloves so that we could run our own experiment. I remember Bob Shapiro at a break walking over to the witness stand where the gloves were and comparing them to his hand and seeing how there was a likelihood of it not fitting OJ, who had huge hands. But I think Chris Darden wanted to one-up Johnny Cochran. He wanted to steal his thunder. I went to law school almost 40 years ago, and the first thing I learned in law school was to never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. That rubric is magnified 10 times to a demonstration. That is magnified 100 times if the demonstration is on television, being witnessed by 95 million Americans. You wouldn't deign to try some experiment. And if you'll watch that scene, you can watch Marcia Clark sinking almost into her seat as it was going on.
Do you think he was innocent?
I'm asked that question a lot, and I never argue with anyone who believes he's responsible. But I had a chance to meet OJ Simpson. I had a chance to talk to him and to look into his heart. And I will go to my grave believing two things. One, that the prosecution had failed in its burden of proving him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And two, that someone connected with the police lied and cheated to attempt to convict someone whom they think was guilty.
Don't miss part 3 of OJ, Made in America, tomorrow. That's 9 Eastern on ESPN. OJ is arrested for murder. A saga unlike any other in American history begins. Part 3 premieres Wednesday. Again, that's tomorrow. ESPN also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. SportsCenter to follow.